Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Lily, and I'm so happy that you are here with me. In today's video, I thought I would bring you along while I fussy cut some of these beautiful flowers that I kind of neglected. A few days ago, I discovered that I had a small stash of fussy cut digital flowers from a couple years ago, and I used them on a recent project. And those are the ones that are in the upper left-hand corner. I'm showing you really quick the papers that I use to print my digitals, and I have this Epson presentation paper. And then I also started using a newer paper, and this is the HP Premium 32. It is a great paper, great for brochures, presentations, and also digitals. So I will have an Amazon affiliate link in the description area below for more information, or if you are interested in purchasing. I do have to let you know that I do earn a small commission if you make any purchase from my Amazon affiliate link. However, that does not impact you whatsoever. Okay, I am pointing out the types of scissors that I use for fussy cutting. Now, these are basic fussy cutting techniques, you guys, but I wanted to bring you along because, believe it or not, I have had questions regarding fussy cutting, and not so much online, but in person. And I do have, friends and family that watch my videos that also ask me questions. And so I thought I would do a video that focuses on fussy cutting. Right now, I am setting down some of the fussy cuts, the ones that I came across just recently, next to the new ones that I printed. And you could see the different color variations, and I'm going to talk about that for just a moment. So the ones that I found, I printed a couple years ago, and you could see how vibrant, and they are true to the color on the screen. Oh, before I forget, let me mention, these digitals I purchased on Etsy from a shop called Clay Paper Scissors. And so I've had these for about 3 years. And these fussy cut ones, I probably fussy cut about 2 years ago. I'm moving around my craft area for the 100th time, so I came across them. And it reminded me that I had the digitals, so I went ahead and printed some new ones. Now look at the difference in color, you guys. The ones on the right, super vibrant, again, true to the color, to the image that is in the digital that I purchased. Now, the ones on paper, or that one that I'm holding with my left hand, those are really muted, and I could not figure out why that such a drastic color difference. And it didn't look right when I printed them. When I put them side by side is when I noticed the big difference in the vibrancy. So I went to my computer and I tried to troubleshoot it. I know there was some type of printer error or malfunction. So I spent some time trying to figure out how to troubleshoot that error. But now I had these printed digitals that I didn't want to go to waste. Now, even though the colors are muted, they are still a beautiful dusty rose color. And I'm not going to put those to use. They're not as vibrant as they should be, but they are still beautiful. And so I am just going to fussy cut those and use them in projects. But I wanted to show you side by side what happens. And also, if things don't print out the way you want them to, but they're still nice, we don't have to discard them. We can still find ways to use them. Let's go over some basic steps on fussy cutting, you guys. And a lot of you may already know this, but we also have to remember that there are a lot of people that are new to paper crafting. And so covering basic techniques like this is also really important. And because I do get the questions asked, I want to be able to address them to everyone that watches and shares in my paper crafting community. Some of the basic supplies that you should have or you will need if you are new to this is a couple of pair of scissors. When I fussy cut, I like to use a long pair of shears or scissors. Notice how the black handle ones have a very long blade, and these work great to cut through larger areas. The first thing I do is cut around the perimeter of the item that I am going to fussy cut, just to kind of break it down, and it makes it easier and more manageable to handle when I get in there with the smaller scissors and do more intricate cutting. But for right now, we're just going to trim all of that excess with the larger pair of scissors. And then once I'm done cutting all of these out, then I'll pick up a small pair of scissors, and those are the ones that are going to do all of that intricate cutting. And I'm going to show you how to hold your scissors and the paper, because you're going to need to use both your left and your right hand. So you're going to hold your scissors with your dominant hand. I am right-handed. Now, I was born a lefty, you guys, believe it or not. So I was born in 1969. And back in the day, if you were born or you had this natural tendency to be left-handed, in school you were taught to be right-handed. So I went to school where I was taught to be right-handed, even though I wanted to be naturally left-handed. So I remember being in the 3rd and 4th grade, and my teachers, they were very nice. I love my elementary school teachers, and they would show me how I could use my right hand. And so by the time I was in junior high, I was ambidextrous, where I was, even when I was younger, I was ambidextrous. I was able to use my left hand and my right hand, and sometimes I would be able to write at the same time, and I would show off that skill to my friends in junior high. Look what I can do, right, with my left and with my right. But I started using my right hand more and more, and slowly the skill to be able to write with my left hand, and because of the lack of practice, it just faded away. There are certain things that I can still do with my left hand. In fact, there are a lot of things that I naturally tend to use my left hand with, and I have been asked several times if I am indeed left-handed. I'm no longer as ambidextrous as I used to be when I was young, but I can, like, to open jars, you guys, I open jars with my left hand. For some reason, it seems to have more strength. Anyway, okay, back to the fussy cutting. So grab your scissors with your dominant hand. In my case, it is my right hand. But then with my left hand, I'm going to hold the paper. And the left hand, my left hand holding that paper, is going to do most of the work. My scissors I am holding in place, and I am rotating and turning the paper in the direction of the image. So I'm not moving my scissors around at all. Notice how my right hand is still. It is very still, and the left hand is just kind of maneuvering and guiding the paper around the blade of the scissor. And that's what you want to do. It makes it go by so much faster. And vice versa. If you are left-handed and you are holding your scissors with your left hand, then you would have the paper in your right hand, and you would also move it around the blade. And you are very slowly cutting into that paper. The scissors are basically just holding your paper in place. You have to work with them simultaneously, you guys, to do the fussy cutting. Give it a try. I have watched a lot of people fussy cut, and they're moving the scissors around the the design. And in fact, it's easier to move the design around the scissors. Now, back, I'd say, well, about 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, I taught a lot of classes when I started paper crafting or rubber stamping. I was a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I believe I've mentioned that before. And I did that for a few years. But then afterwards, when I moved to California in 2010, I started teaching just regular, no affiliation with any company type of workshops and paper crafting classes. And I would host these. And I had a lot of beginners, you guys, in my class. We were working on projects and also cards and, let's see, scrapbooks and just all kinds of different paper craft classes. And I was holding these workshops. And I had a lot of students in those classes who struggled fussy cutting, struggled cutting simple shapes like squares and circles. And so this fussy cutting flowers like this would be a much more advanced fussy cutting to them at that time. And, you know, I'm talking about people or students that were beginners in the paper crafting industry. And so I remember showing this technique to the students in the classes. I also had intermediate and a lot more advanced attendees, not so much students, but attendees in the classes. And I enjoyed sharing, you know, the little tips and tricks that I knew to make paper crafting more enjoyable, and teaching and also learning from a lot of the other attendees and students that were in the workshop. So it was fun. So I thought I would do this with you today. I was going to fussy cut anyway off camera. And then I thought, let's make it a chatty video and talk about fussy cutting. While I was doing this, you guys, it took me back to the 5th grade. I was in the 5th grade in 1979. And my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Culbertson, oh my gosh, I loved her. She was amazing. And Mrs. Culbertson welcomed me into the 5th grade with open arms. We had just moved into that area, and the school year had already started. And I came from a different school district. My parents had bought a house, and so we had to move shortly after the school year started. And Mrs. Culbertson was so nice, welcomed me into the classroom, and I immediately made friends with everyone in the class, and Mrs. Culbertson made it a very enjoyable experience. I love the 5th grade. I went to a school called Liberty Elementary. But going back to the fussy cutting, so fussy cutting took me back to the 5th grade because that was the first time that I remember fussy cutting in mass production. Mrs. Culbertson had asked for volunteers for Valentine's. She wanted to know if any of the students would volunteer to cut out some hearts. And of course, me being the way I am, I raised my hand because I just wanted to do all the things, especially when it came to paper crafting. And so she gave me some red construction paper, and then she asked if I needed a pair of scissors. And I said, "Oh no, Mrs. Culbertson, I have scissors at home." She says, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes, I'm sure." So I go home with my red construction paper, and I go to the junk drawer, and I pulled out a pair of scissors, and they were the dullest pair of scissors that I have ever used in my life. They were so dull, and at that moment, I regret not borrowing a pair of scissors from my 5th grade classroom. But I still went ahead and I did the job. I cut out as many heart shapes from the construction paper. When I get to the classroom the very next day, Mrs. Culbertson sees all of my hearts, and she says, "Did you not have a pair of scissors?" Because it looked like I had shredded those by hand. And I said, "No, I did." And she says, "Were they not sharp?" I said, no, they weren't sharp. I kind of struggled with the pair of scissors. And she says, oh, you should have taken the scissors that I offered you. The point I'm trying to make here is if you are going to fussy cut, you guys, or cut anything, invest in a good pair of scissors. And I'm not talking about, spending, tens and twenties of dollars or, for a pair of scissors. You can find a good pair of scissors at the Dollar Tree. But just don't use a pair of scissors that are dull. Have you ever cut into construction paper with a dull pair of scissors? So you can imagine what that looked like. So every single time I fussy cut, you guys, it takes me back to Mrs. Culbertson's 5th grade class where I was cutting the Valentine red hearts. That became a core memory. There are things that you do in life and it just takes you back to that one moment in time. That is one of my moments. So now every time I fussy cut, that is what it reminds me of. The jagged construction paper red hearts. So funny. A few years ago, a few of my girlfriends, we all got together and we took a road trip to Arizona. There was a Stampin' Up event, or was it a Stampin' Up event? I don't think it was a Stampin' Up event, or oh my gosh, I don't remember. I think it was. Anyway, so I tagged along and went for the ride. We all got together and we took a road trip down to Arizona. One of my friends had a project that she needed to finish for the event, and she hadn't finished fussy cutting all of these flowers for the project that she was going to share with everyone. So I was sitting in the back seat and she asked if I would help her fussy cut these flowers. So for several hours, you guys, in the back seat of her car, I fussy cut stamped flowers. Flowers that she had stamped. And oh my gosh, they're beautiful flowers. And I was just sitting there in the back seat of the car, fussy cutting away all of her flowers so that by the time we checked into the hotel, her flowers were done and she can quickly put together her project so that she can share it with everybody else. So that is another core memory when it comes to fussy cutting. Now, I don't mind fussy cutting at all. It is somewhat of a tedious job, but one that I don't mind. Fussy cutting actually helps me to slow down. I tend to work very fast. That is just the way I am, because I want to finish and I want to see the end result. So fussy cutting helps me slow down and it helps me work on my patience. And so if you struggle with impatience like me, and you want to rush through your day, rush through your things, this is a great way to slow down. So I spent a good hour fussy cutting, and I'm only showing you 30 minutes of my work because I had already fussy cut a few of these off camera. But this really helped me. I did this early in the morning. I had my cup of coffee next to me, and I truly enjoyed this process. I was sitting in front of a large window, so it was very calming and very relaxing to spend about an hour of my morning doing something like this, something basic like this. At the same time, though, I'm also building my stash of fussy cut flowers. And I will tell you that I did troubleshoot the printer error. And the reason why the newer digitals that I printed were so muted is because the yellow ink cartridge was malfunctioning. So after I did some printer maintenance and I printed a quality report, it wasn't printing yellow, it's printing, the yellow on the printer report was coming out a very dark green, and it's supposed to be a bright green. So it was very dark green. And then I cleaned the printer heads several times. 3 times in one session, waited 30 minutes, and then printed 3 more times in a second session, and that yellow or the green was still coming out really dark, like it had a lot of black in it. And I just didn't know what to do. I was thinking I had to go buy a new printer, and I had gone online and read a lot of the troubleshooting discussions and forums. Finally, I decided to open it up, open the printer, take out the yellow cartridge, because I knew that's the one that had the issues, because these were not printing with, they didn't have that yellow vibrancy in it. You could see the green was very dark, very muted. And I took out the yellow cartridge and I kind of inspected it. And now I will tell, when I tried to pull it out of the machine, it came out very easy, almost as if it weren't inserted properly. My bad. So then I went to reinsert it, and it wasn't latching. It wasn't catching in the little mechanism. And so I took it out and put it back in. So after doing that several times, I realized that the cartridge was defective. Oh, so I'm like, oh no, now I have to go buy a yellow. And I had just bought these, you guys. These are brand new cartridges. But that yellow was a little bit defective. But I played around with it enough where I kept inserting, trying to get it to latch, trying to pop it in, but it would immediately just reject it and pop it right back out. Finally, after several attempts, it caught and it didn't pop it back out. And I carefully closed the door to the printer and ran a second quality report, and ta-da! It printed. Now, I did this after the fact, so I don't have the better results or the more vibrant results for you, because I continued to do this after I had recorded this video. But I just want to let you know that I did fix the problem, and it wasn't my printer, it is the actual cartridge. And I am not going to mess with that cartridge until all of the color is depleted. But now I know that when I buy new cartridges, if they don't latch on from the very beginning, I'm taking those babies back. I'm not going to struggle with that anymore. Anyway, I have forgotten to use digitals. Like I enjoy purchasing digitals on Etsy. A lot of great creators and makers of digital artwork. But I had forgotten, so I had kind of neglected using those. And I like buying images like this, flowers and things that I can fussy cut and use in my work. So I'm excited to use these flowers again, even though they are somewhat muted. They are still very beautiful, beautiful images to work with. My daughter just recently, one of my daughters, had asked if I had a heart punch. She was doing a project for the PTA and asked if I had a heart punch. So I showed her what I had. They were kind of small, and I said, well, if these don't work out for you, you can fussy cut the hearts. And she didn't say anything, and she says, okay, Mom, I'll see what I can do. And then later I asked her how it went with her hearts and if she found what she was looking for. And she said, Mom, when you told me to fussy cut, I kind of knew what that meant, but I couldn't remember. So what she did is she went to my YouTube channel and she searched within my videos, fussy cut. And that is how she remembered what the term meant. And so what she did is she ended up fussy cutting the hearts for the PTA for the Valentine project that they were working on. And I made sure to let her know that she needed, sharp scissors. When I had offered the punches, I made sure that she had a trimmer if she needed one, and she had a good pair of scissors. But she's been with the PTA for a while, and my 2 grandbabies, they love paper crafting, and so she has the basic tools. So yes, she fussy cut, but I thought it was very flattering to know that she went to my YouTube channel so that she can get a refresher as to what fussy cutting meant. So that was pretty cool. And that is also one of the reasons which I am creating this video. So if you have if you've ever had any questions about fussy cutting, or you are, or you want to watch fussy cutting videos, well, here you go. A fussy cutting video for you. I hope this this has inspired you so that you can fussy cut. I do know a lot of people that would not take on a task like this because it's too tedious for them. It is. It is a tedious, it is a laborious project, but if you love paper, this shouldn't bother you at all, right? It is part of what we do. This is the behind the scenes look at what we're doing to create some of the masterpieces that we work on. I remembered that I had these unfinished window pockets that I had started last year, you guys, last year. And I came across them when I was, moving my craft area around. And how perfect are these muted digitals with the colors I chose for these envelope pockets. They are going to coordinate so well. I'm going to use liquid glue. I'm just pointing out that, I've mentioned it a few times, that the glue that is in this little bottle is a cocktail of glues. There are about 5 different glues in this little bottle. I refuse to buy any more glue until I use my stash supply of glues. So I had a lot of bottles that had tiny amounts of glue, and so I have poured them all into this one little Ranger multi-matte medium glue bottle, and the glue works just fine. I call it my glue cocktail. Once I go through all of my glue, I will repurchase glue again, you guys. But look at how nice the flowers look with these pockets, you guys. It's like they were meant to be. I remember preparing these envelopes around the fall, and that's why I have the more muted scrapbooking papers on the envelopes, and then I put them aside. But you could see how these envelopes here with the embossing, I'll have that video linked down below. I just released it a few days ago. But notice how the more vibrant digitals worked so much better with the ink and embossed pockets, where the muted digitals are perfect with these more muted tones of these pockets. So it worked out. This was a very happy accident. The bright ones or the vibrant digitals, too vibrant, too bright for these pockets. The muted ones work so much better. If you'd like to see how I make these envelope pockets, I will have a link in the description area below, and anything that is relevant to this video today, just open up that description area and you will find tons more information, all of the links to relevant videos, and then anything else that pertains to this. If you have any questions at all, or you want to share some of your fussy cutting stories or tips and techniques that you would like to share with me, please do so in the comment section below. I think I'm always open to new ideas, and I'm sure everyone else would appreciate that as well. I'm not going to complete these pockets. I grabbed them because I remember I had them and I knew that the colors would work well together, and also to show you how I use digitals in my projects. Look at how beautiful those are. So all of these pockets I will set aside, and I'm not sure what direction I'm going to go with them. So, but I've got some flowers down, and then I'll set them aside and work on those later for future projects. I will also continue to fussy cut all of the other digitals that you see there on the left-hand side. But now I'm building my digital stash. And then I'll also cut out the newer ones that I printed that are their true vibrant color. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. Let me know what you think in the comments section, in the comment area below. Thank you for being here. And I'll also remember to link that video as well. Those turned out just great. Thank you for being here. If you are new to my channel, I welcome you to subscribe so you can see more of this content. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you later. Bye.